I built a 50K per month profit one-man AI agency, and I'm about to show you the exact blueprint to copy me. You see, traditional agencies are dying, fighting over 2K a month retainers, dealing with massive overhead and constant churn. But there is a small group of smart entrepreneurs that are building a solo man AI agency to over 50K per month in profit. And in the next 20 minutes, I'll break down the exact same system step by step. First, we need to break down the numbers. If I want to make 50K per month with my agency, we need to talk about a couple things. First off, what does our team structure look like? What is our typical payroll on that team? We're also going to want to talk about how we leverage AI to deliver on these services to maintain the highest amount of payroll. And we want to show a few quick things on how we maximize profit. I'm also going to go into a couple other things like pricing, how we actually price our AI services, and of course, an offer breakdown with that, so that we have everything we need functionally on paper to reverse engineer the numbers so that we can hit that 50K per month. So if our goal is 50K a month, an average client will be worth around, let's say, $2,000 to us per month. So if the average client is $2,000 per month, that means with quick math right here, I mean, it's no genius to sell us, we need 25 clients. For quick math, we're just going to go over, hey, if I want to get 25 clients, what is my cost per acquisition to acquire those 25 clients? So typical CPA or cost per acquisition is going to be around $800 on the low end to around $1,500. So it's going to cost us on average $800 to $1,500 to acquire one client from Facebook ads. So on average, we're looking at a CPA of around $20,000 to around $37,500. Now, I know that number can seem like a lot, but we are again spending that much money to get around 50K per month in revenue, and that's monthly reoccurring revenue. So if you had an investment that you spent $20,000 to $37,000 on that was paying you $50,000 every single month, that would be a pretty great investment by any means. You'd probably be the next Warren Buffett. And that's the benefit of scaling a service-based business. So in terms of a generalized CPA, depending on how good you are at Facebook ads, obviously we're pretty good at Facebook ads. I've seen hundreds of ad accounts from all the best agencies across every different niche. I've also ran my own agency's ads to 7 figures as well too. So I know a thing or two about Facebook ads, and I can say those numbers are about accurate. We do want to calculate for a little bit of churn. So let's say our churn is going to be 10 to 15% on that. Let's bump these numbers up CPA wise. And let's say 25K to around, let's say 50K. So that'll account for our churn percentage because a few of those clients that we do get will churn. So we're probably going to need, 27 to 32 clients considering a 10 to 15% churn rate, right? So again, these are complex numbers and can seem a little bit advanced, but this is the stuff that's really important. And most of the time people set these arbitrary goals of 50K per month, 100K per month, but they don't actually reverse engineer the numbers, and see what it takes to hit that. If you look at most high-level CEOs and executives of these big companies, a lot of times they're spending most of their time, energy, and effort on looking and analyzing the numbers, finding the biggest bottlenecks and constraints, and reverse engineering the math to scale. So we need to do that for our own agency. So that's kind of a little bit about the numbers in terms of cost per acquisition. Now let's break down what the team structure looks like. So in a team structure at 50K a month, again, we're at 50K a month here, and that's around, let's say 27 to 32 clients. We're right around that part where at 50K a month, as an owner, you most likely can be the one doing the sales and the CS, which means you're kind of acquiring the clients. So you're hopping on the demo calls and you're also doing the CS. I didn't hire my first CSM until I was at 130K a month. I do not recommend that. Usually around 50 to 80K a month is where you want to get that person. And you don't want to offset sales until like 50 to 80K a month at least. So once you start scaling beyond 50K a month, you can talk about some closers and some CSMs. But for right now, you can do kind of both of those things. What you will want to leverage in team is remove yourself from a lot of the smaller day-to-day activities. So the first team breakdown that I would look at is sales. So how can we acquire some team members and hire and train some team members that will help us out on the sales front? So what we'll do on the sales front is all you really need is 1 to 2 setters. So what a setter is, this is a phone setter, right? And what this person does is they just call, qualify, and schedule the leads on your calendar. Because if you want to get 27 to 32 clients, if your close rate, let's say your close rate is 30%, let's decrease it just a little bit for you guys and let's say 25%. So that means 1 out of 4 calls that we do closes. So if I need 27 to 32 clients, let's do 30 clients for easy math. If I need 30 clients, that means I need to multiply the number of clients that I need by 4. So we'll take 25% as my close rate, multiply that by 4. That's the number of demo calls that I need. So if I need 30 clients at a 25% close rate, that's going to be around 120 calls. And when you get into 120 call range, that's where you're really going to want to get a setter. Because if you break down that number, I mean, that's, 30 plus calls a week. And it's hard to do that if you're also qualifying and calling all the leads from ads, etc. So your whole goal with a setter is to focus on your time, which is being spent taking as many demos as possible. So they maximize your ability to take as many qualified showed demos. So you want qualified and showed demos. So you don't waste your time talking to unqualified prospects. All you really need is 1 to 2. If you have one setter that's an absolute killer, you're good to go. I like to get at least 2 just so they have something to compare themselves to. And there's a little bit of competition. So from the sales side of things, all you really need is 1 to 2 quality setters. You can be the closer for the main part of it and take home the bacon. If we go into fulfillment, right, we're going to need probably 2 positions. I'm going to call the first one an ops VA. So this is somebody that does like your GHL setup, sheets. They can help out with like client comms. Basically every small minuscule task that's a low dollar per hour task. This person is paid anywhere from, around $4 to $12 an hour, depending on the quality, right? And this person again is handling all of the minuscule small tasks. So once you start getting 30 clients under management. The second one that we're going to need is a dev. So a dev, those are going to range from around $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And what the dev is going to do is the dev is going to help you out with fulfillment in terms of they're going to help out with actually delivering the AI service. So let's say building the AI, which is a service that you're selling. They're also going to help out with automations. By automations, what I mean is a lot of the stuff that was manually done that the ops VAs used to have to do before automations can be automated with N8N, Zapier, Make, and things like that. So what they can do is automate as much as possible in terms of client fulfillment. So for example, if I am running an AI agency, I set up voice agents. I would want them to automate the knowledge base creation, the prompt. So let's say like knowledge base, the prompting, maybe even if I'm doing lead gen, they can automate some of the ads and things like that. So what am I actually delivering for my clients? How can I have a developer come in and deliver for those clients? It usually takes them 4 to 6 hours to set up a client account, and it's going to take a couple hours after that to continually manage that client. So that's a little bit about what our team breakdown looks like. Again, these are really high profit margins as well. The other things to consider cost-wise as we grow is software. So, you have your GHL, which is going to be around $297. You have your N8N. That's going to be around like $140 a month if you have that many clients. You're also going to need Assistable or Vapi, Retell, whatever AI voice agent that you choose. And those are actually $0 because what we do is we offset that cost back onto the client. So looking at GHL, N8N, Assistable, we're probably going to need a management software, something like a ClickUp. And this one shouldn't be too much, around $80 a month. And there we have it. Those are some of our base core softwares. There's also things like Google accounts. This is, pretty straightforward, like $20 max is all we really need here. So let's do a quick breakdown on math. So let's say at $50K a month, let's say we've pushed through this initial ad spend period that I mentioned above, which we pushed through this period. And now we're at $50K a month. So we've dropped the initial, 20 to 37,000, which again, sounds like a crazy amount, but that's month over month, it compounds compounds. As you sign more clients, you can use that revenue to throw back and compound a little bit quicker. We're at about 10K a month. In terms of payroll, I'm going to allocate around 3K a month. Then software costs, we're at around 2K a month in total. I'm giving a lot of slippage on that software cost just to hit any one-time fees that might occur, etc. So right now we're looking at 50K a month. We're looking at $15,000 in cost. So that would put us right there at a 70% profit margin, which is a really good business. Again, that's probably growth profit. How much you actually pay yourself can kind of vary from that, depending on how aggressively you want to throw back money into the business. Say you want to spend more money on ads and double your ads budget, etc., or hire more employees and be more removed from the business, etc. So this is a really good one to take a look at. In terms of gross profit margins, we're sitting around 70%, which is very, very healthy. So this is the decision where you go, do I want to build a lifestyle business, or do I want to build a huge company? So if a lifestyle business, you're essentially optimizing for profit. In a company, you're optimizing for scale. So in a lifestyle business, hey, I just want to crank 70% profit. I want to make multiple 5 figures a month, travel the world, only work a couple days per week, etc., and not have a lot of responsibilities. Or a company, hey, I want to grow and scale, get as many clients as possible. I usually see most agency owners are on one end of the spectrum or the other. They're either optimized entirely for profit and, they're at 15K or 20K a month, but got multiple 6 figures in the bank. Or I know guys that are at 50K a month trying to hyper scale and are living paycheck to paycheck. So you want to be kind of in the middle in terms of my recommendations. That middle point is going to be the highest recommended period, right? Now let's also get into a couple other things, right? We've gone over what do we need to ad spend. We've gone over our team structure. We've gone over profit margins. Now let's talk a little bit about kind of the offer and the services that we're going to be providing. So when we talk about the service that we're going to provide, right now there's kind of, a lot of fluff in the AI space as to, sell this N8N automation here, sell this AI agent here. But the truth is, nobody's paying for an N8N automation. So we definitely don't want to sell these N8N automations, right? We can use these N8N automations, I want to clarify, but what we want to sell is the outcome, which is what do they actually care about in terms of what are their problems, pain points, and what are their goals. So if we can solve their problems, solve their pain points, and help them achieve their goals, now that's a much better offer. So think about it like this. If I said, hey, I'll come in and build this AI agent that will respond to all your emails and it's pretty cool and it's automated, they're not going to care about that as much. Versus if I come to them and say, hey, don't you hate taking all those phone calls, training your front desk staff, and don't you know how much money it's missing? On average, we see it's missing $17,000 to $20,000 a month on average. So what I'm going to do is install an AI voice receptionist. It's going to save you $15,000 to $20,000 on average. And it's also going to make you an additional 10, 20, 30K per month by getting speed to lead from all the leads you're generating from Facebook ads. So how's that sound? Right? You see how that's a way better offer in terms of positioning to them. You can also get into lead gen, which I won't touch too much on this one because I have whole videos going over this, but that's going to be like an ads, an SEO, a content, or some kind of lead gen source, right? Either ads, SEO, or content are some of the 3 that I see as the main priorities, right? So this is something that can generate them leads from ads. Now, again, in terms of pricing our services, it's pretty simple, but what we want to do when we look at pricing and how I look at pricing is essentially 2 different things. So first I look at, my close rate. So if you have 2 clients, you should not really be worried about pricing. You should give them a first free month. You should give them, a discounted rate, whatever you got to do. So if you're at 1 to 5 clients, again, you want a free, you want a huge discount, and you just want to get them on your software, and later on you can upsell them as you go along. But as you get for those initial 5 clients, let's say I've got 5 clients, I'm getting appointments booked from ads consistently. What I need to do at that point is then go in and start increasing my prices a little bit. So what I'm going to look at is my close rate percentage on the front end. So if my close rate, let's say, is greater than 30%, price goes up. If my close rate is less than 30%, then my price needs to go down. So if I close like 2 or 3 deals in a day, I'll go back into my slide deck or my demo deck and I'll adjust pricing right there. But this is really the front end metric that controls kind of your pricing. You know, on average, you want to optimize for a cash collected. So this is how much cash do I collect when I close somebody? You want to do a cash collected that is greater than your CPA plus your fulfillment cost. What does that mean, right? So if I collect, let's say I cash collect $2,000 on a deal, my CPA is going to be $1,000, and then my cost for fulfillment is, let's say, $500. So that leaves me a $500 margin on that. See, what's really nice is if you have at least somewhat profitable on the front end. Let's say I'm spending $1,000, it costs me $500 to deliver for the first month, and I'm going to get $2,000. It's a $500 profit margin on that, which means that now I'm profitable on the front end month 1, which means I can take that $500, I can throw it back into ads and compound the ads wheel, or I can just keep it as profit. It's very important that you understand being profitable on the front end, especially when you run ads. This is a more advanced topic, but it is really important to understand, because if you're just breaking even on your ads, that means you're not getting any profit until 30 days in. And if your clients don't renew right on the 30 days, if your cost per fulfillment rises a little bit, your numbers get thrown out of whack. So this is kind of the numbers that I like to hit. So if my close rate again is above 30%, I want to increase my prices. If my close rate is below 30%, I'm decreasing my prices. But on average, let's say we're at 1 to 2,000. So usually in price points, it's funny because most people just choose their prices because they hear that's what everybody else did online. I mean, I did that as well. So typically you're looking at like $1,000 to $2,000 a month as a start point. Once you get your first initial free trial clients and you've accelerated them into paying, I want at least $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Now, as I accelerate and I get more clients, that price is going to go up in one of 2 ways. So I can either increase my retainer, or I can increase a back-end profit share, or we'll say profit/rev share, or I can also do a percentage of ad spend if I'm doing lead gen. So they're all a little bit different, right? Your retainer, you get your hard costs associated with it. You know what you're going to get every single month. It's kind of nice to really do your numbers clean, which is why I recommend this one first. Don't get into these metrics until you have really understood and dialed in your numbers and have a couple clients on retainers. Don't even touch profit or revenue share, right? Or a percentage of ad spend. Profit and rev share are great, but it can be hard for the clients to track it. You basically need access to their payment processors and seeing how the clients process payments to be able to accurately bill them, because there can be some slippage there. Clients could lie to you and say how much they're actually getting, which is something we don't want to deal with. Ad spend, however, is nice because you can clearly see how much they're spending on ads, but it's not always relative to their actual return on investment and how much money the client is making. So there's some give and take there, but that's a kind of a quick pricing breakdown to go over that. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is how to leverage AI in this entire process to make it more profitable and scale a little bit quicker. So when we talk about implementing with AI, I want to see, how does this AI affect marketing? How does it affect sales? And how does it affect product? If we can use it to either increase our output or decrease our costs within that. So we're looking at an increase of output, so more ads, more sales calls, more leads, etc. Or we're looking for a decrease in cost. Right? So the first thing we'll go over with is marketing. So the number one thing is, if we're running ads, we can definitely increase the amount of creative. So I want to go ads and I want to increase my creative. Right now, Facebook's had to adjust their algorithm because of the amount of ads that have come into the market. So I can use things like VO3. I can use things like HeyGen to produce a ton more AI-driven ad creative than I have before. There's also some image stuff like Nano Banana. So what I'm doing is increasing my marketing costs. We can also use GPT for copywriting, or Claude for like copy. So, hey, I can script out a lot more of these ads than I could before. And I can also, dial in my headline copies, so funnel optimizations, etc. So there's a lot we can do with AI and marketing. Now, in terms of sales, so we can have an AI SDR call all of our leads, qualify them, get more of these appointments. We can have a text AI reach out to all the leads, etc. That one's really helpful. We can have AI review calls, so it can let our setters know if they're screwing up, or it can let us know if we're screwing up. This is just call transcript happens, throws it into a GPT with a certain prompt. GPT spits some feedback on the sales side of things. So that one's pretty good. We can also use it for like reacts, so reactivations to send a bunch of text blasts to the list. We can use it for emails to convert more of those leads into appointments on the back end. We can also use it for a lead scoring as well to kind of make sure that we're only talking to the most qualified leads. And then let's get into product. So the first one is onboarding. So anytime we have to do like a Google Sheet, or we have to create a Google Drive folder, or we have to do something manually done within the onboarding process, we can automate that through Zapier, Make, or N8N. So that one's really useful. The other thing that we can do is we can automate like our sub account creation. So like our GHL sub accounts, you can automate that within an automation. We can also automate, like say if we're doing AI voice, let's say the knowledge base creation, and then let's say the prompt. So the main prompt, automated those as well. If we're also running ads for our clients, we can do the AI marketing techniques that I mentioned here in the first section that goes over like ads, creative, etc. And we can use those same techniques to produce a ton more ads, creative, headlines, etc. copy for our clients. So there's a lot that we can do across the board to streamline our operations, fulfillments, and build a killer AI team to deliver on these services. Now that you know how to build a 50K per month agency in 2026, you need to understand why this model is absolutely destroying old traditional agencies. And there's a fundamental reason why these agencies are absolutely crushing it, and old traditional agencies are relying on razor thin margins, inconsistent lead flow, and a ton of churn and low profits. So check out this video where I show you exactly how to stop selling SMMA services and start selling AI strategies instead if you want to build an actually successful AI business in 2026.